So we're going to start that. We're going to let this spool up again, and then we're going to go through with the notifications. So we were talking about weather. I'm not in New York right now, where I'm usually at my home in New York State. I'm in Montreal right now, where I have family here, and it's minus 22 degrees Celsius yesterday. I think it's a warm minus 17. Minus 22 Celsius is minus 4 Fahrenheit, 4 below zero Fahrenheit. And right now it's a super warm 13 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 17. So, but we're going to get to a high of 32 degrees, which is zero, which is woo, super warm, but a 22-degree temperature change. And then by this weekend, we are going to go up to 15 degrees Celsius, which is about 55 degrees. So we will have done a 50-degree temperature change in a matter of a couple of days.
Yeah.
50-degree temperature change. In Fahrenheit, that would have been, what is that from? 30 degrees Celsius temperature change. Like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's 2 meters of snow around the chalet that I'm in. I mean, 2 meters, 6 feet of snow on all sides because it's sloughing off the roof. And it's an enormous. Somebody asked if I packed shorts. In fact, I do. I have my running shorts that I take to the gym. And when run inside, I'm going to go right after this podcast, I think. So, okay, we've got a few people. Wow, we got a lot more than we had actually on before we started. So
no, I think you dropped off, and there were like 600 plus. I was just chatting away about
600 at that point. Yeah.
About the French nuclear deterrent and what happened about that yesterday.
Well, good. I'm glad you got that out.
And I hope people, because there were 600 plus.
Okay.
And then I just started telling them about the evacuation plans to get people out of the Dubai and Doha airports,
good God.
where thousands and thousands of Europeans have stranded. So
well, I was toying with the idea of going. So it's getting people out of there is going to be a big logistical challenge. And, to a certain extent, you have to ask, do they need to go? So, all right. So we're about 5:15.
I saw an interesting thing just now that actually it's only today that the U.S. State Department has ordered evacuation of employees from Baghdad. Can you believe it? It's
non-essential employees from Baghdad.
That's
well, they've been trying to break down the front gates of the Republican Palace for 3 days now. And they're sitting, and what made them think Iraq of all of these countries would be safe? All right. I mean, you're literally surrounded by the guys that will kill you down in the souk.
What made them, you're talking about safe, what made them think it wouldn't be pummeled? Bing, bing.
But somebody says I have a second channel running. So we'll have to see about that.
Yeah, that was the channel where the 600 viewers were, where I was chatting away.
Right. I'm just going to check with Substack right now to see how that's going. And we're going to restart here in a minute. Sorry about that. Everybody's obviously coming from the other channel. Because when I signed back in, it wouldn't let me back into anything. So, right? It's the way of the world. The technology
channel is blacked out, is what someone is saying. It suddenly went all black after. Hopefully people have figured out to come over here.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm signing on, and I'll be able to.
Hearts, everyone. So,
right. Click those hearts, and that way we'll have that. Okay. So, did you see the chart that the State Department sent out with the number of Americans that they want in cities that should evacuate by their nearest airport?
No, I didn't see that one.
Every airport that's closed is what they're listing, except for Jeddah, Saudi Arabia and Cairo. Every other
Okay.
country's airports are closed. Every one on that list. Riyadh, Jeddah, Mecca, they're still open.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
Yemen, I think Aden might be open, but it's just absolute lunacy.
And if you go through Yemen, you can get into other trouble than Iranian drones.
That's right.
Yemen, you can get into all sorts of problems. Al Qaeda, Houthis, everything.
Okay. I have I had to sign in on my laptop here for you guys. Okay, good. And then we have plenty of time because there's all sorts of new stupidity. You know, I hate to have to criticize these things. I mean, I was a military member. I spent a lot of time in the Middle East, and my problem with what was going on is just absolutely ludicrous. Just absolutely
Yeah.
ludicrous.
I will say for me, the one thing I noticed from the top brass that took the price for the insanest clip of the last 24 hours was
Mhm.
Rubio saying that it was only because Israel wanted to attack Iran that the US had to join in because that made the threat to the US imminent.
Yes, absolutely crazy. Absolutely
Absolutely.
crazy. We're going to talk about that because he says first off, I have a section of my notes here that say convoluted goals, the goals
Yeah.
of this supposed war, and just absolutely crazy, just absolutely crazy.
Completely nuts.
It is.
They
So
are all over the place.
yeah, well, that's their game. So
Yeah.
moving right on. So we have, I think we have uh I don't know if that channel's still open. I'm trying to close it. But as of now, we've received almost everyone's back. We have 700 some odd viewers right now. We'll have 1,000 here shortly, and that's fine. So, good morning, part two of the Warcast for the United States Iran War Day 4. And what's happening today is absolutely the same as what was happening yesterday, only with far more convoluted and ridiculous political activities. But let's go straight to the combat component of this. U.S. forces are striking all around Iran right now. They are degrading air defense. And the United States Navy has finally hit the Iranian Navy in Bandar Abbas port. And this is important because Bandar Abbas port is where all the vessels would come out if they were to attack the Strait of Hormuz. Bandar Abbas is right off the Strait of Hormuz. They have sunk all of their major warships, their submarines, their mini submarines, which leads us to what we discussed the other day, Jacob.
Yep.
You know, you did human intelligence work.
Yeah.
Apparently, we have bought off the Navy commanders.
Yeah. It seems like it.
Not one vessel went to sea. Not one. And by the way, the Navy is not the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. The Rev Guard is a completely different military organization with air assets, with boats, with ships, submarines, torpedoes, all, cruise missiles, all of that. The Artesh, the Iranian army, land war army, is supposed to be a, non-regime component. Same thing with the Air Force, same thing with the Iranian Navy. And apparently they decided because lacking orders, the Minister of Defense, everyone was killed. They decided to stay in port. They didn't order anyone to sea, right?
No.
Which is just utterly amazing. That would have created an enormous amount of trouble in the
Yeah.
Strait of Hormuz, enormous amount. But now the Iranian government has just given up 40 years of building up naval power since I helped sink one of their ships in 1988. from 1988 on, they just spent decades building ships, submarines, mini subs, anti-shipping missiles, high-speed small boats. Apparently, we bought the commander of the Navy and he allowed us to sink it. So the Iranian Navy is now no longer a factor at all. We've sank all of their major vessels. Now, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps maritime brigades are a completely different animal. The maritime units have small boats. They can put 5 to 10 men in them, and they can swarm out in the hundreds into the Arabian Gulf, and they could attack. But this is a kind of strategic decision that the Ayatollah, whoever the supreme leader now, and his defense counsel, whoever they are now, would have to make to mobilize the Basji and the IRGC to get on those boats and go out and do that. And I think they're holding this in reserve. First off, they're small boats. If you sank 50 of them in port, there's still 1,000 of them in garages, right? All over the place. So that's one of the things that's happened. Next, the United States military's death toll has risen to 6. The soldiers who were killed at Port Shueba, in full disclosure, during Desert Storm in the post-war, I was assigned to Port Shueba. There were only about one unit. I was with EOD, Explosive Ordnance Disposal Mobile Unit 10, in Port Shueba, along with a small Army medical hospital and nothing else. Nothing was open. Everything was closed. We lived under a gas cloud. And I lived there for the better part of a month till I moved to the American Embassy in Kuwait City. But Port Shueba got hit, and Port Shueba is right on the water. I mean, there is nothing between you. Interesting to note, there's a video that went out showing a U.S. Army compound get hit by a Shahed drone. And there are all the armored MRAPs and heavy vehicles, all of which have 50 caliber machine guns. Not one vehicle was positioned or put into place for them to try to shoot down drones. Almost like just sit in your bunkers, let whatever gets hit, we'll replace it. It's just insane. They didn't even try to defend themselves. In Erbil, Iraq, where drones were hitting yesterday, the Gatling gun system that we used that was developed for ships called CRAM was successfully shooting down rockets and Shahed drones. They did not deploy the CRAM to Kuwait. And so technically, all of these videos we're seeing, and they definitely didn't deploy it to Bahrain. U.S. Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain is completely destroyed, including the Navy Exchange, the Baskin Robbins. I'm not joking. These are all been hit. But we didn't deploy any defensive gun systems to protect against Shahed drones. You can shoot a Shahed drone down with an AK-47 or a PKM machine gun or an MG3 or an M249. You could do that if you put those bullets up in the air. Apparently, we decided to rely on multi-million-dollar interceptors. So while we're shooting the ballistic missiles, how in the name of God, after the January 2024 campaign against Israel, in which over 1,000 Shaheeds were shot at Israel, and they were all shot down in Jordan and all these other countries, and we didn't do it anywhere else. So we just thought, they're not going to use them over here. They're going to use ballistic missiles only, right? So now Iran had an inventory when they started this a few days ago of 80,000 Shahed drones. 80,000, and some of the more the newer ones are very sophisticated, can do course changes, they have decoys, they have jammer ones. Oh, it's just insane. So now, as we are running out, that's the big story today, we are running out of interceptor missiles for the ballistic missiles. The entirety of the U.S. war stocks, we're removing missiles from Asia. They reported today that a Theater high altitude interceptor battery in South Korea, which is defending against a nuclear bomb that could be fired from North Korea, is being flown to the Gulf. Not its missiles, the whole battery. So it's like they didn't even plan for this war. And that's what brings me back to the Six Dead. Their base had zero air defense. Zero. Not AAA anti-aircraft guns. They could have used old captured Iraqi ZSU-23-4 Shilka and, or put ZU-23-2 anti-aircraft guns on the back of a Toyota pickup like I had in Chad, okay, and shoot those drones down. So it's utterly amazing. Listen, if any of you are defense contractors and you need me to come give you some advice, look, I don't even have to bring all those drone interceptors from Ukraine. My advice would be to go buy some goddamn guns. So anti-aircraft guns with bullets that can shoot down a $20,000 drone with maybe $300 or $400 worth of bullets, as opposed to a $1 million interceptor or using fighter aircraft. Okay, enough ranting
And
about
the
that.
president is claiming it's all because of Ukraine and Joe Biden giving defense equipment to Zelensky.
I have some news for him. Okay, there are 6 classes of U.S. surface-to-air intercept systems. We left 3 warships, which have over 80 surface-to-air missiles in the Gulf. They are nowhere near those ports. They're not outside Doha intercepting missiles. They're not outside Kuwait City intercepting missiles. They're steaming circles somewhere between Abu Dhabi and Doha, Qatar. With a fighter combat air cover. So they should have been like we did off of Haifa, Israel, right in the freaking harbor, shooting down ballistic missiles so that the Patriots of the Emiratis don't run out. They have the launchers. Qatar says they are 4 days from going zero missiles, which you know what the Iranians will do? They'll stop shooting ballistic missiles at Qatar and they'll fire 400 or 500 drones, right? And then you'll see Doha light up like 4th of July. This is utter incompetence is happening here. I personally could have a better war plan where the first thing, since I have been in Ukraine, I have been attacked by Shahid drones, ballistic missiles, rocket-propelled artillery, heavy steel artillery, caliber cruise missiles, right? And battlefield Iskander missiles. One hit down the fucking block from me with a 1-ton warhead. I would have said, hey, let's start from the bottom and start preparing for all the little shit before we go to multi-billion-dollar interceptor systems. This is absolutely ludicrous. Incompetent is what this is. And here's the worst part. I told you yesterday I finished my memoir. It's like none of that happened. It's full circle. Every place that is mentioned in my memoir where I went to war is at war again. It's just Beirut is now being bombarded by the Israelis, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see them invade to Beirut at this point, like in 1982, 1983, when I was a young sailor. It's mind-boggling. U.S. losses in aircraft still remain at 3 plus 1 drone. We do know that a drone was shot down. A Triton drone was shot down over the mainland a couple of days ago. With regards to navigation in the Arabian Gulf, nothing's moving. I mentioned this the other day. The thing that has shut down the Arabian Gulf is insurance companies, not the Iranian Navy. Although the Iranian Navy is taking their shots, again, I'll recap, they have hit 3 ships in the Strait of Hormuz in what we call SOEPA, the Southeast Strait of Hormuz patrol area. That is just outside to the east of the Strait of Hormuz. They hit 1 ship off of Fujairah with a suicide bomb boat. They hit another with a cruise missile, and a third was hit with a Shahid drone. And they are damaged. They're on fire there. But other thing that I mentioned, I believe on the second day, ships who are small, there's a lot of oil smuggling there. I don't know, Jacob, if anyone's ever offered you 500 barrels of oil. but I have. I've had people
No, no.
literally say, "Hey, I have 500 barrels of oil. It's in southern Iraq. We're hiring a small merchant ship to go get it. Would you like a cut of this? It'll sell for double or triple." Back when we had these things. And of course, I was like, no way, this is black market oil. Those ships go back and forth through the Persian Gulf all the time. And I was noting one by the famous or the guy on Twitter who is a merchant ship captain. He said one vessel yesterday, an oil tanker going in to the Persian Gulf to pick up his load, just turned off his AIS. That's automated interrogation system, right? This is
Yeah,
information system. This is the thing that tells you where your ship is on the global
yeah,
shipping map. He turned it off and they just went straight in, made it,
yeah,
right? But it's a small tanker, a very large crude carrier or an ultra large crude carrier or just even, these bulk oil tankers. They're going to get seen, they'll be attacked. So the
yeah.
Strait of Hormuz is technically open, but it's too
Mm.
risky for ships to move through.
Yeah.
With
There's
regards
been
to
a lot
attack,
of debate about that today, and some of the journalists, at least in Denmark, I suspect the same thing in the US, have been talking. But is it really closed? No, it's not closed. Blah blah blah. But the thing is, it's practically closed because
yes.
of the high risk, and again, like you were saying in the beginning, the Iranian Navy has by and large been sunk, but that is not the factor. That's the asymmetrical capability that the Iranians have. And
Yeah.
that's what poses the risk. And that is what will continue to pose the risk, and why, for the foreseeable future, it'll be like that.
I find it amazing. We're back to talking about the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, how they're not doing surreptitious mining that we know of. How come they haven't launched their 1,000 cruise missiles, right? At
Yeah.
ships out there, or they're keeping it in their pants. I mean, they are really showing. Now, we are saying it's because they've been decapitated. I don't believe that for 1 minute. They
No.
have an operation plan that is playing out right now, despite everything that's going on.
Yeah.
So,
The
um,
Navy's cannon fodder.
right, right. It was cannon fodder from the beginning. If they had really intended for that Navy to fight, they would have sortied out early, 4 or 5 days before this. They would have put them
Yeah.
up in Bouchier. They would have had them strung along the coast where you
Mm.
really couldn't get to them. I really think that they didn't care about the Navy.
Yeah.
But this ballistic missile plan, this Shahed drone plan, I'm sorry, it's starting to look brilliant to me. It's really
Yeah.
starting to look like they gave a briefing like, listen, the first 5 of us above you are going to die, right?
Yeah.
But if you got the keys to the truck, here's the green book, flip it open the
Yeah.
page, ass kicking, and carry out this according to this schedule, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure they have Microsoft Excel, and Outlook scheduler, and they could put all that together with
Yeah.
regards to their missiles.
And unfortunately, it's sad to say, but they are clever. They know how to do all this shit.
Yeah. Well, we underestimate them, but I'm not going to quote Kipling
Again.
about, you know, uh, who trying to hustle the East, right? So,
Yeah.
with regards to U.S. operations, both Israel and the United States struck Iran again. The nuclear site at Natanz had an American attack, probably B-2 bombers and others, or standoff from B-52s. We know B-52s are launching large guided bomb packages, and it was struck multiple times. But as we've learned thus far, you can go out and you can hit the site. You can destroy the site. You can level the place. But so long as
Mm.
that nuclear material is hidden somewhere, the amount that they have could be divided up into 10 Toyota pickups and
Yeah.
sat on the back passenger seat,
Yeah.
even in lead shielded boxes.
Yeah.
So, if they're going to keep a nuclear program, and all you're doing is creating a shell game for them in the future, because unless we intend for this to go every day for the next year,
Mm.
um, they're going to be able to still keep their materials.
Run rings, run
Oh,
rings.
run rings around us, right?
And you know what? The interesting thing about Natanz, as you were saying, It was only, I believe, yesterday afternoon that the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency came out and said it's funny that the U.S. government is talking about the imminent threat from the Iranian nuclear program because they haven't struck the sites yet. And they hadn't done that until yesterday, the first 3 days
It
of
was
the
so
war that they
imminent we
don't
had to wait 3 or 4 days,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
We're bombing.
The
They
the war
bombed
they
the
don't call a
Grand
war.
Bazaar of Tehran yesterday.
Yeah.
They took hits down in there. I hope the pencil guy is safe. I don't know if you know the pencil guy
No, I
of
don't know the
of the
pencil
Grand
guy.
Bazaar. He's got this. It's a booth where he's got like 100,000 pencils in it. I mean, you can get any pencil in any color, any configuration that you want. So the pencil guy of Tehran. I hope he survived. So with regards to the Gulf states, every Gulf state is still being struck. Every Gulf state is taking ballistic missiles and cruise missiles. I haven't gotten the count for the Emiratis now, but they have to be about 700 drones. At this point, it was 550 to almost 600 yesterday morning. The Emiratis are saying that they are holding fast. They're using a lot of their surface-to-air missile systems out there. They say that they have another bunch of interceptors that could last for a couple of weeks, whereas the Qataris say 4 days. The Emiratis said no. I believe the Emiratis said maybe a week or more. The Qataris said 4 days, and that includes today. So that when they go Winchester, which is our military term for zero ammo, it's going to be interesting. Now, more interesting is the fact that the U.S. military did not procure what are called PAC-3 interceptors. That production line is still open, but they're producing these PAC-3 interceptors mainly for Korea and third-party, what we call foreign military sale partners. So
Yeah.
they can produce those interceptors, but you're going to get maybe 5, 10 a day, whereas you're using 40 or 50 interceptors per day. The math ain't
Exactly.
mathing here unless the U.S.
No.
literally does what they didn't do to Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
Strips the entire U.S. Army Reserve of all of its interceptors. Now, key point here. As you know, Donald Trump had proposed this system on a national scale for the United States in a thing called Golden Dome. So someone explain to me how if the Saudis, the Qataris, the Kuwaitis, the Bahrainis, they say the Bahrainis is going to reach Winchester today. They're going to be out,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
they only had 2 launchers.
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
launchers. I'm telling you, I can't even imagine what the next show of what we call IDX, right? The International Defense Exhibition in Abu Dhabi, or the one
Yeah.
DEF CON out in Saudi Arabia this year is going to be nuts. Trillions of dollars of interceptor material are going to be contracted. And all they really needed to do was buy, 30, 40 Toyota pickups with Ukrainian, right? Ukrainian
Yeah.
anti-drone interceptor drones,
Yeah.
which they could go buy a whole factory right now, but they don't. I mean, I just don't understand the logic.
Yeah.
Everyone there is going to try to fool themselves into believing they did well when this is over.
So the Gulf Arabs, just like the Europeans, need the Ukrainians as their allies,
Yes,
not
they
the
do.
US.
Yeah, if I were the sheikhs,
That's what
listen,
we're
when I was in
learning.
Abu Dhabi and I worked for the UAE government as an advisor, they were just in love with Eric Prince, right? To the
Yeah.
point where they got rid of all of their Nepali guards off of all the palaces when Eric Prince proposed swapping them all out for Colombians.
Yeah.
So all of the palaces in the UAE are guarded by Catholics from Latin America.
Wasn't Eric Prince behind the Peruvians in Iraq back in the day?
Mm.
Was that
All of them. The
those were
Kenyans,
Peruvians?
Peruvians, Kenyans, all they wanted was anyone that wasn't an Arab that could be clearly seen as not an Arab. So just bizarre. So, but they talk to these guys, and to give you an idea of how bad their defense policy is, they talk to them, and these guys always propose billion-dollar things with an under-the-table payoff for whoever helped facilitate this. But,
Yeah.
the Emiratis should be going and begging for the Ukrainians, right? I mean, you don't
Yeah.
wanna take no one's gonna be sending Ukrainian army soldiers, but Budanov could go there and go, "The Russians fucked you. The
Yeah.
Americans fucked you. We won't fuck you. I will set up a factory here down in, Fujairah or out in the desert down there past El Ain or someplace, and we will produce, right, 1,000 drones a day,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that you will be the biggest anti-drone marketer and sales
Yeah.
company in the Middle East. But they don't work that way. They want,
Yeah.
like my late wife when she worked there, one of the things she used to say was, "They have stupid money, but they
Yeah.
spend it stupidly." They so
Exactly.
okay,
Yeah.
Oman got hit again, by the way. Duqm Port down near
Exactly.
Salalah took a drone
Exactly.
right after they
Yeah.
were told they wouldn't be hit anymore.
Yeah. Exactly. What an accident, right? And Riyadh, the U.S. embassy.
Yes, Riyadh's American embassy took a drone. No one saw it. Once it gets past your air defense, I
Yeah.
mean, it may as well be a seagull.
Yeah.
The Saudis were never very good at air defense. I've seen them try to intercept Houthi ballistic missiles and shoot themselves, literally
Didn't go well.
drop it right into the
Yeah.
middle of their own cities.
Exactly.
And it's not a question of experience. It's a question of the attitude towards what they're doing until they personally are being attacked. Each watch section could have three different qualities of guys. One that's
Yeah.
utterly incompetent, one that is a shit hot commando, and then the third guy who just wants to see what's for lunch. So that's always important.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
next, part of these impacts are gas prices.
Mm,
I haven't seen it here in Canada, but I saw yesterday somebody posted that gas jumped 50 cents a gallon in parts of the United States. And they're
mm,
doing this on anticipation of not
yeah.
getting gasoline, of
Yeah.
oil later, but they may as well start profiting and reaping the benefits of a war now. We could see gasoline go up. It was at 288. It's now to 343. That what that person wrote. It could easily
Yeah.
go to $4 and $5 in some places in the United States. So it's
Yeah.
almost always $5 a gallon in California. So you could be looking at 7 to 8. But this is going to be an effect of this war, and the White House doesn't seem to care.
Yeah.
How's it going to?
And
How's is
on energy issues, also a notable development today was the Qataris stopped LNG production
Oh
as
yeah,
of this morning.
yep. That's going to hurt because all of their
That's
liquefied
gonna hurt.
natural gas was all being liquefied, putting on
Yeah.
LNG tankers and going through the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know if
Mm,
you've ever seen an LNG tanker, people. They are floating atomic bombs.
yeah.
They are floating atomic bombs. When they blow with all the force of like a 1 megaton atomic bomb, or 1,000, 100 kiloton atomic bomb. They blast the blast pressures that these LNG tankers put out. It looks like the Bikini Atoll bomb experiments of World War II. The water all comes up and then sprays out.
Yeah.
Utterly amazing. So, yes, no LNG tankers. The Gulf, another place that got hit was Fujairah Port.
Yeah.
But the place that got hit at Fujairah Port were the gas storage tanks servicing the Abu Dhabi, I believe it's called the Hanan oil pipeline that bypasses the Strait of Hormuz. But the Iranians know about that, so they hit one of the sites near there, and they'll probably target that, which will effectively cut off all oil from the United Arab Emirates going out of the SOH, going out of the Strait of Hormuz in the Persian Gulf. These people thought about this. Somebody says
Yeah,
47 years of the Iranians oppressing people and doing this. Yeah, 47 years of planning too. All
yeah,
right. And
yeah,
this
exactly.
appears to be a real economic war against these
Yeah,
countries, less a
yeah.
military war. What do you think?
Yeah, and exactly, and that's because they want pressure on Donald Trump to stop bombing, and it's been in the works since Saturday, and it will just be increased, and they're not going to stop it. That's for sure. And actually, I saw Bloomberg today reporting that the UAE and Qatar have started to try to put pressure on the Trump administration
Mhm.
to find an off ramp, and as we predicted,
Well,
it plays right into the Iranian strategy, and the Iranians have known all along.
which is a good segue right into my next section where we have a discussion about the ever changing, ever shifting, every hour flip flopping goals of this war. It was a war that apparently was done with deep coordination with Israel. I heard they were bragging yesterday that the United States spent thousands of man hours planning with the Israelis how to conduct these operations. And in the literal same breath, saying they had nothing to do with Israel attacking Iran. I mean, it's like saying, yes, I bought in all the flour, I bought in the milk, the sugar. We needed the bread. We cut out 5,000 loaves. We had, flour all over our face. But I had nothing to do with baking the bread because you didn't put it in the oven. I mean, okay. And then we fucking find your ass sitting there eating the bread. So, and there's 400
Yeah,
more loaves ready to go in. I'm going to
yeah,
guess you're baking. So, secretly behind our backs,
yeah.
which, it's utterly amazing. But now Trump, who just 2 days ago, and and this is a sign of real, I think, senility. I really think he has dementia. I think he has senility. He doesn't
Could
remember
be.
from 1 hour to the next, he said. But where he was talking about, hey, well, we were going to choose amongst those bad guys and pick a bad guy and make him our bad guy and leave him in power. And then the bad guy would do good things for us.
But unfortunately, he got killed in our fantastic, perfect strike.
He got killed in our strike because we
Our
didn't mean to
perfect
kill him
strike.
because we were going to leave him. Help me, Jesus. Ah, ya Allah, as they say in Arabic, right? Oh, God.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
now this morning, Trump says, and I know there's a briefing that we're missing. So if anybody sees anything good in that briefing, that's supposed to be Congress getting a briefing. Trump says this morning it's too late for Iran to talk now. And they've gone
Oh,
back to the rhetoric that first it was going to be 3 days, then 4 days, then a few weeks, then indefinitely, then it could stop at any time, back to indefinitely. But not now, if I quote Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday, it'll last a long time, but definitely not a year. But
yeah,
okay, this is the same guy who I personally think could have ended the war with Hamas in a
yeah,
matter of months and went 2.5, almost 3 years with it. So I'm not trusting him or the Donald Rumsfeld, not, maybe 5 days, not more than 5 weeks, never 5 months, and, definitely not a year. Well, yeah, looks like we're going there because the Iranians can keep this going
yeah.
for a year.
They can. They
Yeah,
can.
absolutely
And
crazy.
they don't care. And what we haven't talked about, Malcolm, yet is you mentioned, the situation with Hezbollah. What I also saw, and that is the situation in Bahrain.
Yes.
where obviously you have the Shia majority that are starting to do unrest at a large scale, and where that's gonna go, I don't know. But Iran is igniting all these fires, and they're good at it,
Yep.
unfortunately.
Well, you're right. Bahrain had fighting break out in parts of the country, including the video I saw numerous Molotov cocktails. They were
Yeah,
throwing Molotov cocktails at the Bahraini police. That is as you said, a majority Shia, majority Iranian backing Shia population there. And they could, as somebody said, oh my God, I saw this yesterday. They said the first country that could fall to Trump's regime change is Bahrain. I mean, holy cow. Just, we are so fucked. Um, Another point that I want to make is that even though they have not breached the embassy in Baghdad yet, they did breach 2 nights ago the embassy in Karachi, Pakistan. And now we're
yeah,
getting more details about that. They made it through the main gate, they made it through the security barricade, and they were scaling the wall to come into the main compound where the Marine barracks or the Marine Guard, the MSG Marine Security Guards, did not evacuate that embassy. That consulate, actually, it's a consulate, it's not an embassy. And it was the Marine Guards that fired and killed 10. Usually it's the Pakistani police. They just like, their way of scattering a crowd is just to shoot into you and kill a bunch of you, and then they'll go. None of this flashbang grenade or shout on a bullhorn thing. That's just the Pakistani way. But
yeah,
if this is true, and I haven't heard that confirmed, but if it is true, I expect that consulate to be burned to the ground soon, because
yeah,
they won't take that from an American. They'll take it from Pakistanis, but they won't take it from Americans. So let's hope that that is a rumor, because I saw some diplomats, some former diplomats, talking about how awesome it is that the Marine Guards protect you. Well, there's usually at a consulate like that 8
yeah,
Marine Guards, and that's the full 3 watch shifts, right? 2 Marines
yeah,
per watch shift plus a sergeant of the guard. And there's nothing in the Karachi consulate which is necessary to protect. Hopefully, the charge d'affaires or the consular officer left days ago or is in an armored vehicle now en route to Karachi airport, which is open, right? And if he would do what I would do, which is don't fly to Islamabad, fly to Kathmandu.
yeah,
Literally, fly to Nepal, fly to the
yeah,
Maldives, and go have a vacation.
yeah,
But
exactly.
if those guys are still in that country, I'm seeing an incredible level of incompetence from the U.S.
Yeah,
State Department.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. There's, like we discussed with the evacuation of non-essential personnel from Baghdad happening today. It's
That's
it.
possible. How is that
Yeah,
possible? How come they didn't do it last week? Oh,
yeah, yeah,
just utterly, utterly amazing. So again, Karachi, look out for Karachi, Pakistan. I've been to Pakistan. I was in Pakistan in the post 9/11 period doing something over there somewhere with somebody somehow. And they can be volatile. They can be ultra nice, but
yeah,
they can be volatile. And I did not know the size of that Shia majority there. A lot of Iranians are there, but most of them are Shia Pakistanis, and Shia from other parts of the Gulf states,
yeah.
the Muslim world. So look out for
Exactly.
Karachi. Um, back to the goals of this war. Marco Rubio yesterday threw Israel under the bus, saying his version of it was we had to attack because Israel would attack. And if Israel attacked, the Iranians would retaliate against our bases. And here's the quote. So they would hit, we decided that if it happened, it's better that they hit our bases now
Mhm.
when we were prepared than in the future when we would be unprepared. Someone make that shit make sense, right? I mean,
like Malcolm, when I joke about how it's the Norwegians' fault because they didn't give the Nobel Peace Prize to Donald Trump, this is Marco Rubio in real life saying this shit, for in a serious way. It's
well, I got to tell you, apparently everyone is throwing people under the bus. So Rubio threw Israel under the bus. Then the Defense Department threw the White House under the bus by saying they had no oh, by the way, Rubio today this morning said that it was because they had news of an imminent nuclear threat. Now, that somebody's like, oh, what was the book Sum of All Fears by Tom Clancy about? About an atomic bomb sent to Baltimore, destroys Baltimore, and then they go and they kill the Ayatollah. So apparently he's like, oh, somebody get me the Amazon review of Sum of All Fears. Oh, yeah, it was about nuclear all along. So he started making it sound like there was an imminent nuclear threat. The Defense Department yesterday had already screwed that up and said we have no intelligence, no information about any imminent nuclear threat or a threat of attack against our allies. ... You fucking chose to do this because you thought it would be fun. So now, not to be outdone, J.D. Vance speaking anonymously on himself. And here's what the New York Times described. This is high comedy. We should have a comedy show out of it. The New York Times described him, the source, as a high-level government source who is intimately familiar with J.D. Vance's thought processes. I should you laugh. Oh, you mean like J.D. Vance?
intimately familiar with.
So it was J.D. Vance sourced himself to the New York Times and said, well, J.D. didn't want to go to war. Right? Now, I don't know how that technically is J.D. Vance throwing Trump under the bus. But J.D.'s recommendation is, if we're going to go, we go big and we go fast. Quote, unquote. That was their logic. So what do you make of that stupid shit?
I make, I'll say to all our viewers, Malcolm, they need to watch The Daily Show tonight.
I'm getting to The Daily Show.
That's gonna be hilarious. And
I'm getting there. I have it in my notes.
There are people dying because of this shit, and you have all these complete madmen running around. It's for heaven's sakes.
I know. It's utterly crazy. Oh yeah. We're definitely getting to The Daily Show. But I had to reissue, by the way, day 3, Warcast, because something got deleted. But I'm going to find for you the video from The Daily Show, because the administration is engaged in another campaign that could only best be described as absolutely hilarious. So, at the top of the show, we went out and we said, hey, it's day 4 of the U.S.-Iran war. Well, the White House and its surrogates yesterday started pushing back and saying, we are not at war.
That's right. Yeah. It's a special military operation.
And it's only going to last 3 days, right? 4 days, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, right? But definitely nothing more than that. So, so there is a video out there. I'll look it up and I'll play it for you guys, because it is just mind-boggling that the White House is actually trying to make an argument, and it's back and forth, and its surrogates are saying we are not in a war. that, and they haven't characterized, and they characterize it a whole bunch of things: strikes, attacks. Here it is. Okay, so I have it here. This montage I thought came from The Daily Show. It's
No,
from
that's from
CNN.
CNN. Yeah, that's
It's from
right. I
CNN.
saw that.
And let me tell you, I'm going to flip it around so everybody can see this and can hear the audio on this. But you aren't going to get better comedy than this right here. So everybody take a listen, because apparently uh, we have been wrong for the last few days. There is no war, and we need to change the name of this program to the whatever they call it cast. So here you go. May have casualties. That often happens in war. I don't know if this is technically a war. We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it. This isn't a war. We haven't declared war. The Secretary of Defense, who calls himself the Secretary of War, said today this is a war. We set the terms of this war from start to finish. Nobody should classify this as war. It is combat operations. War is hell and always will be. Strategic strikes are not war. And we may have strategic strikes are not war. Okay, I've got 176,000 words over 40 years of strategic strikes that were not wars. Although the name wars in all of them. This is utterly ludicrous. This is a new level of gaslighting that I didn't know that we could achieve.
It's I'm lost for words, man. It's absolutely crazy. It's
Yes, it is.
absolutely
Well,
crazy.
okay. Well,
But yeah.
There's not a lot we can do. The war continues. Now I know you'd like to talk about Lebanon real quick because
Yeah,
if you can give us a sit rep of what's going on in Lebanon, it's changing. I'm watching Canadian broadcasting right now, which is very good coverage of the
okay.
war. They have correspondents everywhere, including on the Turkish border of Iran, and they're
Yeah.
getting some. They're a news organization with actual journalists.
Yeah.
And they are reporting heavy about the bombing of Beirut right now. So what's going on in Lebanon?
Exactly. As you were saying, quite heavy bombing, but it seems also army units crossing into southern Lebanon. And to be honest, the Israelis feel this is what we'll do. We've been there before, we'll level it. But again, I'm afraid this is also what the Iranians want because they want the quagmire. And that's they want to draw the Israelis in and create like civil war scenarios and stuff like that. That's what they're good at, and they don't have the missile and rocket firepower to really make a big problem for Israel that they once had. But the quagmire stuff they can still do, unfortunately, expertly, and that's what I'm afraid we'll start to see.
Well, now that you've said that some units have crossed into Lebanon, full disclosure, I have been on both sides of that border.
Yeah,
Okay,
so have I.
I actually even more full disclosure. Now I can reveal it. I sort of left it out of my memoir. I've been on all three sides of that border. I have been on the Syrian side from Syria. I've been on the Israeli side from both sides of the Golan Heights, and I've been along the northern border. Actually, I was taken there 2 years ago when the rocket attacks had displaced most of the Israelis
Yeah,
along the border there. At great expense to the government. Every hotel in Haifa was filled with internally
yeah,
displaced persons. And I had been in the southern side of that border back before it got fully engulfed with Hezbollah, and we had United Nations forces there.
yeah,
And it is extremely steep, rocky, valley filled,
yeah,
rock strewn, olive treed with a ridge of mountains up behind you. the
Yeah.
entire length going all the way from the Israeli border to the to the Litani River, which is where the Israelis like to fight up to,
Yeah.
all the way to Beirut. That is
Yeah.
hard fighting country. And if you don't
Yeah.
control all the high ground, right? Everyone
Yeah.
can come and get you. They can creep up in the middle of the night. So
Exactly.
I forgot to mention that there was yesterday a report that I didn't write down on my list, which I'll correct now. The Israelis yesterday called up 100,000 reservists.
Yeah.
So it's possible that they are looking for a deeper, broader war that pushes them maybe back to Beirut. They bombed
Exactly.
multiple Hezbollah targets in Lebanon, in Beirut yesterday,
Yeah.
and killed a number of people. So
And
what?
in a conventional mindset, people will say, "Oh, that's a problem for Hezbollah and blah blah blah." But they just want to set the whole place alight.
Yes.
That's it. They want the quagmire, and they don't give a shit about how many people die. Unfortunately, that's what
Yeah.
we do, and that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, absolutely, absolutely nuts. I
Yep.
just okay. So two pieces of comedy before we go. One, there is a picture of a
And
drone
one
from the.
serious thing. Yep.
Oh, what's that?
Yeah, the serious thing that we haven't touched is this
Hmm.
whole idea of fomenting unrest in Iranian Kurdistan.
Oh, yes, yes. The border strikes.
Because that's an
Yes.
important factor, and that seems now to be something that they are in the works, where they've thought, well, this is how we can get unrest in Iran if we start off in the Kurdish area. But guess who has a real problem with that? Azerbaijan, or should we say Azerbaijan, like the president usually says, uh, and Turkey, for fuck's sake. So, this is going to be really, really troublesome.
Yes.
Also,
And apparently Israel striking all of the border posts, all of the customs and border control points,
yeah,
are and the police stations along the Kurdish border with Iraq
yeah,
are literally trying to erase the border between Iraqi Kurdistan and Iran Kurdistan with the intent, all right, of having the Kurdish, the Peshmerga, which is the name of the Kurdish armed militias, to go over there and give assistance to them to carve that out. And somebody was like, "This is just awesome. The Peshmerga are going to go up and start fighting and free their Iranian brothers." Boom. Cue the Turkish army mobilizing 100,000 men
yeah,
and cutting across that border and reestablishing the security between the two, or wiping out Iraqi Kurdistan and Iranian Kurdistan, and we could have the
mm,
Iraq, Iran, Turkish, Kurdish war
yeah,
going on. The Turks hate the Kurds. I have never seen
yeah,
such hatred as
exactly.
the Turks
And
have against the Kurds.
and now we are actually getting into a real escalation scenario,
Real escalation. Yeah, to where
because
if the
the
Iranian border
risk.
changes, it might become part of Turkey. You never you never know, right? Or they'll say, "Hey, we're going to hold this for you
Yeah,
until you get your act together. But this
yeah,
part of Iran is going to be ours because we're not allowing a." And I heard these Americans yesterday, a Kurdish nation to arise. Every time that's happened, look, they attacked our forces that were fighting ISIS. The
yeah,
Turks came down, were killing our force, the Kurdish forces the United States was supporting.
yeah.
They would remove weapons off the battlefield with
Mhm.
anti-tank missiles and all these things. And they essentially had a proxy war going on down there in northern Syria
Yeah.
and northern Iraq against the Kurds. They just don't
Mhm.
want the Kurds to have any autonomy. And so by the Israelis doing that, and Israel and Turkey at one point were allies. And
Yeah.
since October 7th, 2023, it has been knives out between
Yep.
Israel and Turkey. And I suspect that the knives are out because Erdogan is an Islamist.
Yeah.
And he sees himself as, if he were to actually flex his muscles, he could really challenge Israel as the dominant
Yep.
Muslim nation in opposition to Israel.
Yep.
He's got enough manpower for it, but it's very fascinating that they did that. So yeah, stay tuned for that one. Oh my God, talk about, it's a fuse that goes in 20 different directions that we
Yeah.
lit. And
Yeah.
each one has not a powder keg, a
Yeah.
weapons magazine, ammunition magazine
Yeah.
that could go
And
off.
that takes us into there'll be more for day 5 of the war tomorrow. And you had 2 funny things to
Yeah.
finish off with, so we don't go home crying.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, here's the 2 funny things. First off, our Department of War, right, chief technology officer, um, the Americans developed a cheap, low-cost drone that's like $100,000 that Eric Trump was a principal investor in, and then received an almost $1 billion contract to make these drones. And the name of the drone is the Lucas drone. Now, I'm going to show you the Lucas drone, and the comment from the Department of War is Lucas, new American ascendancy. Really, Bish? This is the Lucas drone.
Where have we seen that
Anybody
one before?
recognize this shape? Because it looks like one that missed me in Kharkiv in 2022. The Lucas is, I'm not joking, a drone that was literally reverse engineered of an Iranian Shahid drone that was given to the United States by Ukraine. And that company just created a much more expensive version. This thing launches off a little rocket off of ships and aircraft, and they wanted to put it in combat so that it was in combat. And this is what the Defense Department put out this morning, an Iranian Shahid drone, because you can't tell the difference between this, the Russian, the Ukrainian version, or the original Iranian version, hundreds of which these things are bombarding the entire Arabian Gulf, Persian Gulf area. So are they telling the Arab states that they're, average Joe person in the Muslim world, that they're being bombarded by an American drone? I mean, these people, the stupid goes a long way. So that's it. And our final piece of comedy that we're going to have for today, I'm just going to quote it. I call it the money shot. Comes from Jon Stewart, where he said, with regards to the U.S.-Iran war, our bombs are smarter than our president.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
we're in
yeah.
trouble. So,
Oh,
okay,
go watch the Daily Show
go watch The Daily
tonight.
Show. Get some comedy into your life, because I
Yeah.
know I'm spending tens of hours, a good maybe 15 or more hours per day tracking this. And I want to apologize, like Jacob. I had 3 written Substacks, including one called You Can Sink a Carrier. And I think that one's still viable because the Abraham Lincoln moved, the Iranians supposedly shot at it, missed it by like 10 miles or something, but they had some data, and the Abraham Lincoln has moved from its patrol area further south away from Iran and towards, closer to Oman. And the
Yeah.
Iranians are claiming that, one, they sank it, but then they said, oh, now we've chased it away. I think that second one might be more credible. They may have chased it away because, but the point is, you have to put in strategic uncertainty. You could steam south real hard, then steam east real hard, then steam north real hard. And until the Chinese satellites get you, because I've seen commercial Chinese satellite showing high quality images of the carrier in the Indian Ocean, the Iranians will have a black hole of uncertainty. But I haven't been able to write any of my Substacks. I hope to get some out there. I've got a whole series of things
Yeah.
that I didn't talk about, like the U.S. Army officers briefing that it is God's divine plan that Trump was anointed by Jesus to bring about the apocalypse. There have been over 100 complaints by U.S. Army soldiers to the Freedom from Religion Foundation that U.S. commanders were putting this in divine religious terms as a
Yeah,
war for Jesus. God
exactly.
forbid a video of that gets out.
And
So,
I will say, when I'm asked when this ends, I'm saying this is when Donald Trump has had enough and he
yes,
declares a divine victory.
right.
And guess who I say he's quoting? Donald Trump. It'll be Hassan Nasrallah, because he said that Hezbollah had won a divine victory when all of South Lebanon was leveled back in 2006. So I think Donald Trump will quote Hassan Nasrallah, the now deceased Hassan Nasrallah, and call a divine victory. Yeah.
Good name from our Substack, one of our Substack articles. So that's it for today's Warcast. We have great 1,600 people. Come back tomorrow morning, same time, and hopefully you can make it, Jacob,
I
because
can, I can, I can. Yeah,
awesome. Never just block this hour out and we'll get it done.
I
For
will.
those of you yesterday, I said I was going to do a live yesterday. That live is scheduled for tonight. You should have received an email at 6 o'clock tonight, Eastern time. I'm doing a subscribers only live. And we tried to schedule it for last night, and Substack would not play ball. It wouldn't send out the invitation out. It had to be 24 hours in advance. So I'm going to answer your questions, no matter how inane or stupid. There are no stupid questions, especially when we're fighting a stupid war. But again, I want to end with, our war fighters didn't choose this. They're out doing what they had to do. And I hope they stay safe. I hope nobody else gets killed. I hope the better angels make Donald Trump realize it's time to declare victory and stop these operations. All right.
Great.
All
See you
right.
tomorrow,
See you
everyone.
guys, 9 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Ciao.
Ciao.